Who's ready to talk about a family-friendly Vietnam War film? Because I know I am.
Musical styles are still a very important form of communication for our young people. Hi, I'm Joe Feinstein.
Now, you might have thought that was a joke, but that's exactly what this film is. And even though we're going to get to some of the funnier stuff towards the end of the episode, the serious, actual Vietnam stuff is what we'll be tackling first. Although I suppose I should at least get the cast stuff out of the way, so let's do that. Cast-wise, both live action and voice acting are pretty damn sweet. The voice actor lineup, just to name a few, is Tommy Lee Jones, Frank Langella, George Kennedy. I mean, it's kind of insane how many Oscar winners they have just doing voices. Live action wise, we got David Cross, Denis Leary, Kevin Dunn, we have a young Gregory Smith, who prior to this was in Harriet the Spy, and we have a young Kirsten Dunst, who brought a lot of star power to this production, considering that she was fresh off of Interview with the Vampire and Jumanji. And really quick, we gotta give an RIP to Phil Hartman, who was murdered just 2 months prior to this film's release. I mean, Saturday Night Live, News Radio, shout out to a real one. Also, for those of you who care, this was actually directed by Joe Dante, and most people are only going to know him from the work he did for Gremlins 1 and 2, but in my opinion, he also did a lot of great contribution work to the Twilight Zone series. And for a lot of you older cinephiles out there, he actually co-directed Rock and Roll High School in the late 70s alongside Alan Arkush, who, now that I come to think about it, is actually responsible for Heroes, which is one of my favorite mid-2000 TV shows. But I think at this point I'm veering into trivia territory, so why don't we circle back and focus on the main point. It's amazing how hard they hit you over the head with the Vietnam comparison. I mean, sure, as a kid, all I saw were monsters fighting soldiers and cool action happening. But as an adult, you feel a little dumb for not picking up on most of these blatant things. And yes, the base level is US troops attempting to wipe out another culture and people for the sake of quote-unquote freedom, but they leaned into it in a lot more ways than you may remember. One of the first lines in the film is "swords into plowshares," which means that conflict is over and that you can start focusing on peace, which is how the interim period of the peak of the Cold War and Vietnam was. When Irwin is pitching his idea for the next set of toys, the image of Gorgon he has drawn up is actually quite similar to the real-world waterfall location in Vietnam called Ban Ngoc. When Timmy goes to the back of the store and he sees Chip and Archer talking, Chip demands to know which side the kid is on, and before Timmy can even breathe, Chip headshots him.
Civilian, declare your allegiance.
Gee, soldiers gunning down civilians who have nothing to do with the conflict. Where have I heard that before? I'm not sure. And when the commandos assemble, Chip's orders are short and to the point.
Our mission, destroy the Gorgonite enemy, defeat him. Yes, sir.
Man, that definitely sounds familiar too. I can't put my finger on it.
Simple orders, Hal. Find the enemy and kill him.
I'm sure it'll come to me. I mean, Archer gets tortured for information, the Gorgonites are experts in hiding, people get drugged, there's psychological warfare in the form of blaring music, there's flamethrowers everywhere. I mean, they literally do Ride of the Valkyries at the end. I mean, come on, this is a family-friendly Vietnam War film. And who could have thought it would have been so fun? Speaking of fun, why don't we go ahead and switch gears and talk about the more lighter aspects of the film. Now, keep in mind, I am going to name a fair bit of stuff, but it really is not everything. So again, I highly encourage you to go watch this film for yourself. It's going to be a fun time for you, I promise. First and foremost, the special effects kick ass, even to this day. The scene where Chip first assembles the commandos and they form and sound off is incredible, and it's made even better by their names and comments.
Butch meat hook, sniper, lethal from any distance, sir. Big Nitro, demolition is my mission.
Brick bazooka artillery, ready to go full bore, sir. Link static. Communications awaiting dispatch of orders, sir.
Kip Kelligan, covert insurgent, sharp as a razor. Sir.
Them interacting with real objects, crafting weapons and vehicles, it's just all done so damn well. And it's really no wonder, because it's Stan Winston and his team. Like always with ILM, they knock it out of the park. It's because of them that the last battle is so incredible. I mean, to be fair, across the board, the battle is super fun and entertaining. Everyone is doing their part to defend the house, Alan's mom is taking charge, assigning roles, and returning fire. And then the Gorgonites finally decide to fight back, and they absolutely wreck shop. Something small and random I have to give this film credit for is the scene where Alan sees Christy through the shop window. And that sounds odd, but just hear me out on this one. There's no slow-mo of her doing a hair flip and laughing. There's not like a silly fantasy sequence where he gets snapped out of it. He simply sees her from a realistic angle and starts to get nervous. And what's more, the music playing is diegetic, meaning it's not just a soundtrack overlaid on the film, it's playing within the film itself. Even better, the song Love is a Battlefield perfectly foreshadows what he's going to have to go through to be with her. And I just think it's really well done. Speaking of Alan and his scenes, I enjoy that when Alan and Archer first really talk to each other, there is a no U-turn sign hanging behind Alan, meaning there's no turning back from what's about to happen. And oddly enough, I actually appreciate that Alan gets hurt. There are a lot of adventure films where a lot of things happen and the character pretty much makes it through without a scratch. But Alan gets cut, shot multiple times, he gets stabbed in the hand, and he falls off the top of a power pole. Christy is actually pretty legit as well. She's not just another stuck-up popular girl, she's pretty down to earth, she shares a love of Zeppelin with Alan.
Don't tell me you guys have never gotten the lead out.
And holds her own in a fight despite being anti-violence. There's also a bunch of Frankenstein references that just always tickle me.
We fixed him.
Whitehead's radio.
Some assembly required.
It's alive! It's alive!
Oh, I feel your pain.
And as I mentioned up top, the director also did Gremlins, and there's actually a small reference in this film, because the password one of the toy makers has is Gizmo, which was the main Mogwai in that film. And another fun fact, Kirsten Dunst and Phil Hartman actually worked together before, both on this film called Greedy, as well as their voice acting work for Kiki's Delivery Service. And lastly, I cannot end this episode without telling you that Jay Moore is dressed like Spike from Cowboy Bebop, and it distracted me for the rest of the film and for the rest of writing this script. And when he decided to put the AI chips in the toys, all I could think of was,
we can't live without them. I knew I whatever happens, happens.
So if you have 90-ish minutes free and you want a good adventure film with some fun action, then this is absolutely up your alley, and I recommend this one for you.
Stop the presses!
That's right, everyone. It's big time trivia time, always on that grind, talking about Muppets time. Yep, that's the name of the segment. It's always been called that. Don't go back and watch previous episodes and prove me wrong. This film has David Cross, who was in Kung Fu Panda with Jack Black, who was in an episode of The Mandalorian with Pedro Pascal, who was in Kingsman: The Golden Circle with Michael Gambon, who was in Sleepy Hollow with Christina Ricci, who was in Addams Family Values, which also had John Cusack, who was in the 2002 It's a Very Muppet Christmas Movie. That's right, thank you very much. Once again, I approved, I am the best around. Thank you again for watching, I really hope you enjoyed this one. I'm hoping to have some more critical cinema episodes coming in the next week or two. I'm also hoping to have a new series coming to the channel relatively soon, in the next few months, depending how things pan out, but stay tuned for more. Of course, if you got a recommendation, please feel free to let me know either in the comments or hit me up on Twitter, and as always, I'm curious, what do you think?
Musical styles are still a very important form of communication for our young people. Hi, I'm Joe Feinstein.